First, want to start by thanking you guys for coming and helping us get some information out. The reason we've asked you to be here today is we are looking for tips into what we believe was the 2021 murder of Leo Whitehead. Leo was the 2-month-old son of Irene Whitehead, who is now charged with murder for her 2-year-old daughter and is currently lodged in the Kent County Jail. I want to just say a couple things before we get into any detail. First, obviously, there's an ongoing criminal investigation specifically to the case dealing with Riley Whitehead. And although we will be willing to answer some limited questions about that case, obviously there's restrictions on what I can go into detail, as it's our endeavor to ensure a fair justice process. So I will let you know if I can't answer a question on there. And I also want to help people realize the gravity of these cases for investigators as we respond to child death, particularly in this season. We talk about it a lot, but in every day as we're responding to these cases, we take them so very seriously. They hurt us to the core, and we want to make sure that we provide clarity for the family, justice for the child, if that's something we can provide, and peace to our communities. So no, these are things we take very seriously when they happen. So to the context of this case, on September 3rd, we were called to the Whitehead home in Cedar Springs, specifically because the 2-year-old Riley Whitehead was in medical distress and was not breathing. She was eventually pronounced dead. Our investigation led to her arrest through a number of search warrants and development of evidence. She was interviewed, made statements consistent with being responsible for the death, and she was subsequently arrested on November 25th and charged then 2 days later on November 27th, and again she remains in custody at the Kent County Jail. During the course of that investigation, many times these cases have to do with comparing a number of details, and we had the opportunity to review the death of her 2-month-old child several years prior in 2021. That highlighted some similarities between the death of the 2-year-old and the death of the 2-month-old. And additionally, during the course of our interview with Irene and the 2-year-old's death, she made statements that she had indeed killed Leo as well. So now we're working very specifically on the death of Leo Whitehead and that investigation, and asking you as the community at large to help us with that investigation. What will help us with that investigation are any statements that Irene may have made to you, any text messages, maybe anything that you saw that seemed inconsistent at the time, or maybe not so important at the time, but now in reflection of the bigger case, seems like it may be helpful to us. If you happen to know any information about where medical attention may have been sought for Leo or any of the kids involved in this family, those facts would help us quite a bit in pursuing this investigation and pursuing justice for 2-month-old Leo Whitehead. So in that, I will leave it at that now and give you guys an opportunity to ask any questions you might have related to what I said today or that you may have brought with you.
When did Leo die?
2021.
2021, and what was his death deemed as at that time?
So really, a medical examiner is dealing with a number of factors when they're doing an investigation. They will look for information that comes from law enforcement in terms of what might have been on the scene of the incident, any medical history that child might have had, any evidence that may have been around at that time. And at that time, the only evidence they had was the mother's statement that he had had influenza. So it was deemed that the child died of parainfluenza. However, now with additional information from the pattern and other facts that are now known to us, including Irene's statement, the original cause of death has now been changed to homicide.
Okay, and so at that time, you said 2021, investigators did not believe that there was any foul play?
Investigators had no information to lead them to believe there was foul play at that time.
Okay.
Was the mother taken into custody at that time for questioning?
In 2021, although there was a full investigation, just like there would be in any other case, there was no information highlighted that would have led to probable cause to establish her being taken into a custody and then subsequently charged. So none of that was done in 2021.
What were the statements that Irene made during the interview about Riley pertaining Leo? What exactly were the statements about Leo that is known right now?
She identified a number of similarities with the manner of their death in her statement, but more specifically, she stated that she had killed both Riley and Leo.
Okay, both of them?
Yes.
Did she say that she did suffocate Leo as well?
I can't get into the details of her statement beyond what I already have, but she did state that she had killed Leo.
Are these statements all coming from after you all, like in the last several weeks or days, you would say?
These are all from the initial interview that we did on November 25th.
Do you all plan to exhume the little boy's body?
We did not believe that it would have evidence to further substantiate her statement, so no, we do not.
Riley was taken to the hospital for breathing-related issues a number of times. Was there any sort of Child Protective Services action with this family after this repeated behavior of their kids having breathing issues like that?
So, at this point, we're privy to a whole bunch of individual circumstances when laid out all together look suspicious to us. There were a couple circumstances where CPS referrals have been done on this family, and they were vetted, but did not find suspicious behavior at that point, or dangerous behavior, I guess would be a better way to put it, at that point. So yes, CPS has been involved with this family in the past.
There are other children of Irene. I know that their custody was transferred. Is there any evidence that they had similar issues or any hospital visits for them?
So we are looking into any possible abuse cases related to the other children, and we do have some information that we are vetting right now. I can't get any detail on it, but it is something we are fully vetting.
How many other children does she have?
There were 2 other children that were in the home, in her custody, I guess I would say more specifically, because they were not in the home at the time of the death of Riley, but they were in her custody at the time, and those are the other 2 children that we are fully vetting right now. Those are the extent of her children from my knowledge.
Ages of those children?
I'm not sure, but they were like 5 and 7. Yeah, 5 and 7.
Do you know how many times Riley was taken to the hospital?
I can't give you those details right now, and again, that kind of gets into some of the case facts that we're really not able to fully lay out because of wanting to protect that fair trial.
This is kind of a curiosity question. I'm not sure if you would be the best to answer this, but it's just something I thought of, after reading everything. Should a doctor be looking at potential factors of abuse when a child is brought in? Do they have any type of responsibility to know if something isn't right as to, why they were originally brought there for?
That's a great question, and it's kind of that big picture question that us as a society, what can we put in place that gives tools for medical providers, law enforcement, CPS, to look at things in its totality? But that's a really difficult thing, both in the medical profession and also in the law enforcement, because we're not all one system. So not just one medical system was used by the mother to treat the children. So one circumstance might not be known to a doctor when he's considering the second circumstance. And sometimes the abuse isn't obvious from one trip to the doctor or one call to CPS or one call to law enforcement. It's really that pattern that really established the crime in this case, and in many cases. So at the end of this case, when we do have the ability to talk specifically about all case facts and all the things that we know, this is something we will share with medical providers and see if they can gain any process-oriented changes related to it. We certainly will look at it in the same way, but I don't think it's really feasible for a doctor to inherently know this might be an opportunity, it might be a case of abuse, because they don't see all the cases together.
Do you think that they should just at all consider that? And
They do. I think they do consider that. I think that's part of what doctors do look at, but it's not as obvious as it seems like it might be
Yeah.
when you look at the medical files.
Just something I thought of.
Yeah.
I know they're not child protective services, it just stemming
Yeah.
from this. I thought that was just, kind of interesting.
I think that
perspective.
it absolutely is part of their training, but can we do better? Maybe. And I think, cases like this have to be studied, have to be fully vetted to know how we can do better in the next child's case.
Is Irene actually being charged with Leo's death now? Are there 2 murder charges?
We are pursuing, obviously we have to fully investigate this. We have to know what evidence is out there and be able to take it into consideration with all the case facts that we know before we are able to get charges on the case. We are in the investigative stage at this point, but I believe we will get to a point where we are asking for charges on Leo's case. But as it stands today, we're still in the investigative case, which is why you're all here. I need help from the community to get this fully vetted.
What is the best way the community can help? I know you kind of said if you had any conversations with Irene, is there any other, factors that might be helpful from the public?
Without knowing what they might know, that's what we really do need to know. What did she say to you about the death of Leo? Did she describe in any detail? Can we use that detail to look at what actually did happen and look for inconsistencies? Maybe you know something about where the family was. They at one point moved out of state to Georgia. We don't have a lot of details about where that family was in Georgia, what medical care or law enforcement interaction they would have had there. That would be helpful for us to look at. Again, if you just know details related to this family or maybe picked up on some inconsistencies over the years, that's helpful to us. Maybe all by itself, doesn't seem like it's particularly important, but that together with what we already know and what others might come forward with would be very helpful for our investigation.
Do you believe that Irene's family might have known something about that death?
I think that Irene's family has probably had conversations with Irene that, especially in hindsight, may cause them to remember something that was said or a detail that was shared that didn't set right with them at the time.
But at the time, you're not sure if
I
they
don't,
didn't know if
yeah,
it-
I don't know that they would have had any indication
Okay.
that Leo was murdered in 2021.
Okay.
If Irene verbally told you all that she did commit this crime, why is more details needed? Is it just kind of to build the case?
It is to
or-
build the case, yeah.
And then it's fair to say you guys are in the investigating kind of stages, but it's fair to say considering murder charges potentially for Leo's
Absolutely,
death?
absolutely, that's
Okay.
That's what we believe would be warranted in this case, knowing what we know right now. But again, having additional facts come forward may change that perspective one way or the other, but we believe it'll help us build the case for additional charges
What's
relative to
next
Leo.
For Irene, what are the next few days, weeks look like for you guys in this investigation?
So she is actively moving through the justice process on the case that's already there. And we are working closely with the prosecutor's office to get their case ready for the justice process itself. And, obviously, as you know, that's a very long process, so that will be unfolding over the next months for sure.
And she remains where?
She remains in custody here at the Kent County Jail, and she will until the case is fully prosecuted.
It sounds like there was some records and Apple accounts and different things like that. Did Irene take a video of her attempting to suffocate Riley at all during any of those times or the last time that led to the death?
So I can't get into any detail
Sure.
of that.
Yeah, I understand.
Right.
You mentioned the toll that these kind of child death investigations take. It's a story I'm having trouble stomaching telling
Yeah,
on
I'm
TV,
sure.
to be frank. What good can come of this at the end of the day?
It's hard to even think in the manner of what good can come out of it, right? Because this is just an awful, awful case of children that were, killed. So that's hard to think about the good that come out of it. However, our roles in the community, your roles in the community, my role in the community, is to have people understand that this kind of thing can happen. And if you find yourself uneasy about the way a child's being treated, or the story the mom's telling about what the child's going through, it might warrant getting some help on it. That, when you don't even allow it to enter into your mind that these things are possible, you allow yourself to talk yourself out of thinking, of being suspicious yourself. And so I would say, maybe listen to that little voice inside of your head would be one thing. Two, I do think there's lessons to be learned for how systematically we can respond to cases that are happening at the time. Medical, law enforcement, CPS, and I think the gravity of these cases when evaluating those system approaches have big impacts over time. So this is something we do every time we have a case that is kind of a little different than the last case. What can we learn from it? What could we do better? How could we account for that in the interview, in the search warrants that we get, or how we review a case? And I think that is something that over time has a huge positive impact on the way we respond.
I was just gonna say, how many cases like this have you gotten in Kent County? Is this rare, or have you gotten many child deaths like this?
It does happen that a mother would be responsible for the death of their child. It does happen. I'd say it's happened a number of times in my career. But something so deliberate and over time, I've never seen anything like this in my entire career. Nationally, we know this has happened in other places. We actually have been in contact with other places who've worked through cases like this, and they aided us in our investigation and how to pursue it once we started to realize the evidence was pointing to Irene acting deliberately in this case. We started to look for other cases, and we were able to find other cases, but it's incredibly rare. Mm-hmm.
In her questioning with you all, did Irene reveal any other things that may have led to her committing these crimes, like mental illness or anything that kind of was a red flag for you all for this issue?
So, and I can't really get to anything that doesn't point directly to the probable cause that was used to develop the case. So I really can't answer your question.
What's the contact info? Where should people send their?
We are Silent Observer is always a possibility. You can call the Kent County Sheriff's Office investigative unit. We are also going to provide for you a link to put in your stories that would allow people to upload any text messages, past videos, anything like that directly into an evidence repository for us. And if you have any other questions, additionally, we're going to post that information to our Facebook account for the Kent County Sheriff's Office. So if somebody wants to look for it later, they would already be there. And again, we appreciate any help you can give us, or any help the community can give us to bring justice for Leo Whitehead.
You might have said this, but where are the other kids right now?
They are in custody of their natural fathers.
Their fathers?
Their fathers.
Okay. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.